right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jonathan Stovall. This is William Moore, Skeeter Ligdon, and Josh LaFawn.
That's me.
We're here to do our first annual podcast of The Gray. And just so these guys know, The Gray is a very interesting term. Because in my eyes, and Josh and I have talked about this, that the world is not black and white. The law thinks it is. Sometimes people that are narrow-minded think it's black and white. But there's all kinds of gray area. And those gray areas are okay. We live through those. Josh also is a mental health counselor. So guess what?
Not a counselor,
part of the brain.
Case manager. Yeah.
Whatever. He does all that. Guess what part of the brain is that you don't always use? Oh, gray matter. So let's just start out like this. Josh, introduce yourself. Then we'll bounce over here to Will and then Skeeter.
So I'm Josh LaFawn. Hi. I'm also part of the co-team.
Don't say hi to a camera. Come on now.
I'm saying hi to the people who are watching.
Yeah.
But I'm co-star with Jonathan
Hosting.
here.
We're not starring
We're
anything.
whatever we are. We're here to join together. But so I guess I don't know. Quick introduction about myself is I've been living over in Scottsville for the last 2.5 years. Met some awesome people so far, and
We won't hold that against him. He's brand new.
Yeah.
I'm
Just
a
moving-
new.
Just moving.
I'm a
in.
newbie, yeah. Not like these other fellers over here. We kind of opened the door to the idea of podcasts and wanted to get out not only spirituality but mental health awareness. And so that's one thing that is kind of my passion is mental health and how important it is for people to talk about when honestly it's not really a great subject to talk about for some people.
All right, now that you heard from the professional, let's jump to the other professional, and he's professional with his guitar. So, Will, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, all of that good stuff. I know you. Skeeter knows you.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, he's newbie, but whatever.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Will.
Dude. Yeah, I'm Will Moore. Not a professional at anything.
He's lying.
I'm a professional, and I can tell you what not to do. Yeah, I came to this area. I'm actually from outside of Philadelphia, and I moved here when I was 14, and I'm still adjusting to the difference. And yeah, I don't know. I was actually on my way to the gas station. These guys picked me up and were like, "Hey, man, we need you for
Is that what
30
it is?
minutes. We'll
Oh,
give
yeah.
you coffee and we'll feed you." And I was
They
like,
tricked us
"All
with
right,
food.
dude, I'm here." So
That's what it
now they're
was.
asking me all these questions. And
I get tricked all the time.
Well, the coffee got Will. I'm not going to tell you what got Skeeter. He'll
Yeah.
tell you in a minute. But those of you that Skeeter's been a lifelong friend of mine. I've known him since basically we were old enough to know each other. Skeeter has a great story. Josh does. Will does. My story's not great, but it's eventful. So, Skeeter, tell them who you are and where you're from, man.
My name's Skeeter Ligdon. Well, my real name is James Ligdon, but everybody calls me Skeeter. It's the only name I went by since I was little. I'm also from Scottsville. I was raised up in a little neighborhood. It was a bad part of town called Boxtown, Kentucky. And yeah, I'm a recovering addict, and I mean everything right now in life is good with, and I'm just glad to be doing this with y'all.
Well, I'll go ahead and start by saying that, first off, thank you for coming. Thank you for letting us pick you up on the side of the road.
thank you.
I mean, one of them was walking, the other one was driving. I think one of them got
He was
mad and
pack-
kicked the other
he
one
was
out.
packing
Like,
me.
I'm not real sure.
I was carrying him.
Yeah, he was packing me. I wasn't doing no walking.
So here's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about me. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I've made a whole lot of mistakes in my life. We ain't got time to get into all those. So I know that I have recovered from an addiction, and I know that both of these gentlemen here have as well. So to me, there's no shame in that. I don't like people that shame you for what you've been through or what you've done, or because it's really where you're at now.
That's it.
So I'm going to ask a question to you guys just in conversation. So the things you've been through, whether it was, an addiction to alcohol, an addiction to drugs, an addiction to women, an addiction to working on the camera, any of that stuff, how has your addiction, your former addiction, shaped your life now? Either one of you, go for it.
For me, it's just made, it's opened my heart, man, and cause like growing up, man, I never got showed love, and like now, man, I want to love on everybody, like, and I think
Just don't hug me, okay?
yeah, right.
Do we
Like
hug?
growing up,
You
you
can
know,
hug me, it's okay.
I felt like that's all I wanted, is because my dad was one of them types that he didn't. I don't got to tell you I love you. I show you. You know what I mean? And like as a kid, everybody, every kid I feel like wants, you just want to, somebody in your family to love you. And I felt like growing up that I didn't have that. But it's really opened my heart up to love on others. And that's where I'm at.
I think that what Skeeter brings up a good point before you tell us yours, because I was raised the same time frame. We're the exact same age. But I was raised in a time frame where if you do show love, if you hug, you're not a man.
You're not a man.
You're not a man. I'm going to say it, and you know what? I'm still that way. I'm trying to get over that way. When I said don't hug me, I wasn't joking. Don't hug me. But but at the same time, my father raised me, and my uncle helped raise me. Yeah, I can do electricity. I can plumb. I can do carpentry. I can rebuild a motor. I've rebuilt 3 of my own vehicles because literally, if I couldn't do it, I wasn't a man. So, sorry, you young guys that can't even change your tire or pump your gas. I still judgmental, but I'm trying to get over it. Mm. But, Will, your turn, man. Tell us, how's it shaped your life?
I mean, the biggest thing that I get from it now is that I've always been a self-motivated person. I've always been a driven person, and I always set really high bars, which also kind of became – maybe an addiction, but my addiction was to just feel the rush, feel success, feel like I had everything, feel dominant. I had a big ego and a lot of pride. And when the walls kind of crumble, the one thing that I took from it and that I, still humbles me now and is helping me, get more humility and just more passion to help people like we've been doing. I'm sure we'll talk about. It's just that, you can't white knuckle it and think that you have everything on your own. I had to find something bigger than me, someone bigger than me, that, I could lean on and rely on and not just, like you said, not showing weakness or showing love. People see showing love as a weak. I'm super affectionate. My kids are grown men now. And they're giants, and I'll be in the gym working out with them, and I'll grab one of them and hug them and kiss them on their face. People might think that's like weak or like whatever, dude. I love to love, and I've got God's love in my heart, which is huge, and it's given me above the affection and above the judgment and things like we struggle with when we talk about. It just gives you a whole nother layer, like a whole nother dimension of like this is how it's supposed to be, and other people need to feel this. They might not even know it, and that's part of the reason why we're doing what we're doing, and we're here talking to you guys is, there's a love that we can give, but there's a greater love that we've received and we've accepted, and now we want to give that to other people, and even love the people that we've loved our whole lives even better, and we're able to. But until we accepted that, we weren't able to. Now it's just a good feeling, So all those things. We don't have to white knuckle it anymore, and that's kind of what I've done my whole life until that point.
I think that's perfect, but that transition's great to this man over here. So, Josh, how does that faith that they're talking about, we all have a relationship with God, and that's why we are doing the things that we're doing. That's why we're striving. So how does that faith, though, tie to mental health? So with your background, tell us a little bit about how that all intertwines, because I don't understand it.
Yeah, so for me, and like I said, I'm no expert in mental health, but I just work in it. But my biggest thing I will always say is that kind of like what you were talking about, the love situation. Growing up for me, I'm kind of like Jonathan. We always grew up. You don't say you love each other. You don't hug another man. You don't. You barely hug a woman unless you know that it's okay to hug them. Even back then, it was still kind of a thing.
Definitely get consent.
Yeah. Definitely don't do it now.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that was just something you just were taught on. Like build your own stuff, and I learned how to do farming. I was more farming than most things. I mean, I wasn't a farmer per se. I just took on odd jobs, but with that, when it came to it, growing up, you start losing your friends, you start losing family members. People end up dying that you didn't realize are important to you. Until that happens, you kind of then, I think, the older you get, the more you kind of realize, well, I maybe have like a handful of friends, and I want to hold on to them. And I always want to make sure they know, hey, I love you. And we always say to each other, love you, or love you, or, love you home slice or whatever, make it manly, whatever. But,
This
but,
guy.
yeah, but when my thought process, with Christianity and faith, when it comes to mental health, is we've got to understand that God is the center point of all of that. And if we find out we can do things on our own, we can get help, we can take medication, whatever you want to do, and it does help. Don't get me wrong. If you guys are in recovery, I never was a recovery person, but
You ain't got to rub it in.
Yeah.
no one's rubbing it in. Listen, in fact, most of the time, people who are in recovery are just the people who need it more than people who are out there. Some of the people out there need it more than people who have it. That are just all day. They anyway. I don't want to get into it, but when it comes to mental health, though, it's hard for us, dare I say, us men, to really want to say that we are struggling with something. And so putting it to God will always be the answer, even if we have to kind of let go of our pride a little bit.
Mm.
So I'm going to circle back with this too. So when I look at what we've all said, and then the mental health and the guys, so this has been Holy Week, right? This is the week before Easter. It's Holy Week, right?
Yep.
The first day that Jesus comes in, what is happening?
Pull your mic up a little bit.
He's celebrated. He's completely celebrated, right? So when it might not be a celebration like Jesus had, it might not be a celebration. Yours might not be as big as Skeeter's, or Skeeter's might not be as big as Josh's. Josh's might not be as big as mine. Might be as big as anybody else's. But when was a time in your life that you felt most celebrated? Like, you said growing up you didn't feel love, but what time in your life did you feel most celebrated? Was it playing sports? Was it playing music? Was it when you had a kid? You guys go first because I want to hear what you guys have to say. Skeeter, when was your most celebrated moment? Like, when do you feel most
I think
celebrated?
when playing sports, and then I had my first son, because I had my first son when I was 14, and that was tough, man, being that young in 8th grade, and then as soon as I had my little boy, like, everybody looked at me different, like, oh my gosh, like all especially the girl parents at school, like, oh, don't hang around with that Higdon kid, he'll get you pregnant, that changed everything for me. Like, man, I had, I played sports all the way through, especially like baseball was my sport and stuff, and it changed my whole perspective of everything. And when I had my son, and that was the cause of my, it started my addiction was my son, me losing. My son moving to Chattanooga and stuff, moving away from me. That's what got me.
So, Will, what was your most successful, the most time that you've been in the spotlight? Jesus was in the spotlight when he came in, right? Everybody was like, oh, the palm branches and everything. He welcomed. What was the most successful that you've had in your life?
Well, I mean,
the question is celebration.
Realistically, I had my BC days, and in those days, it was.
What are BC days?
Before Christ.
Okay.
Before I'll just start in that format like that Skeeter was talking. As a kid, like going back, I had a chaotic childhood. Lived in the city, and my parents weren't always around, and they split when I was at a young age. So I had to find a lot of self-fulfillment, a lot of affirmation from things that, I just could feel good about, and I think that was like a precursor to addiction later, but, physical things, sports, competing, in like martial arts and things that would just make me feel successful, and then it was like a success because I didn't want to be like the way it was when I was a kid, and have to I mean, just to side, like, when I was a kid at one point, we had nothing. My parents split, my dad was gone, my mom was struggling, and I would go wait outside of like convenience stores at like 3 or 4 in the morning as like a small 7, 8-year-old kid, and wait for them to bring out the old donuts to the donut truck as they replenish the donuts. So, and I would take them back and we would eat them. And that, like, it was kind of funny then, but in reality, for a kid to do that, I was like, I'm never going to be like that. I'm never going to struggle in life. So that kind of fueled me to want success. And as I got that success that I worked hard for later, that self-satisfaction, the whole time I was just, pleasing myself. And that's like a snowball because there's never enough. You got a big hole in your heart that you're just throwing stuff into thinking it's going to fill it. No spiritual positivity towards that. You're around people that want the same thing, and it just, it kind of goes berserk. And it did for me. So looking back, I had a lot of good moments. I had a lot of success. I had a lot of things that made me feel good. The one thing I would say before I made the change in my life was probably music. That was always from the beginning of my life. My mother was a great singer. My sisters loved music and sang, and there's some musicians on my dad's side, so like I was always around that. My mom was always singing music to me. We were always singing together. Like I always came up in that. So when I finally got to get into music and have some small success, playing in bands and going around and doing big shows, I felt like, some way, shape, or form, this is what this is what makes me happy. Is like when all else fails, I can play music and see someone respond to it and feel what I'm doing feel what I feel when I'm doing it, and it's a positive energy. You know what I mean? So I would say, without being long-winded like I was, I just wanted to give you some kind of
No, I like it. Like
context.
both of you got great success stories. Josh, I'm gonna make you go next, man. Like I'll go after you, but I need you to go. When is the most celebrated you've been in your life?
I think for me, would have to be, it felt like a long time because I struggled through college and just trying to get done. Obviously celebrated, getting married was a huge, it's probably the most celebrated stuff, but because I have a life partner now and she's awesome with me. And
That's his plug, by the way. Go ahead.
Get out of here.
Mother's Day's coming. Good job.
But I think as far as
Savannah, you'll get yours later.
Yeah.
my own personal celebration, because we have to have our celebrations with external people, but we also have our own internal celebration, and that for me would be when I finally got done with college. It took almost 6.5 years, and I felt like it was never going to end. And then I finally got it done, and it felt because I was done, but I had to wait 6 months for my graduation, walk. And so that's when it hit in. Was okay, I graduated, I got a new job position. That was awesome. I love my job. And then 6 months later, I go walk, and it was that's when it hit. I was like, all right, I did it. I did it. But definitely, like I said, that's how I kind of see it. Is I finally did something and accomplished it, and that I do struggle with that. I do struggle with accomplishing things.
Well, for me, I love the accomplishment. Love Skeeters, love Will's. I'm more with Will in the accomplishment area. I've been blessed. Skeeters learned some things about me, and Will too, that they didn't know, even being from Allen County just today in this time frame, is that I have been a very successful individual. I'm very blessed athletically. I've traveled the freaking world, traveled the country. They put me on billboards and pamphlets when I was teaching early, so I was very successful, very celebrated, but that didn't fill me. Mm-hmm. That didn't fill me. But at the same time, it feels good to be appreciated, to be on stage and know that, man, everybody's listening to me. This is what makes me happy. To be with your son and know that's what makes me happy. To walk that line and man, I finally did it. The one thing for me, Will, was similar to yours. My outlet was you get me in the gym. You put me in a gym, I don't care, up until probably about 30, I'm still, and even at 41. So if you're young and you want to question me, just bring me out. I got you. Mm-hmm. But that was me. It was being successful. So all of this still goes into the next part of Holy Week, right? So the next part of Holy Week, he comes in, he's successful. But he sits down with his friends, which is what we're doing now. And he's telling them what's going to happen. They're going to kill me. They're going to kill me. He's preparing them for something, and they're not believing it. When in your life have you knew something was going to happen, negatively or positively, and you prepared people, but they didn't listen to you? Anybody?
I guess being in an addiction, like we know the outcome as soon as we put one in us. Like, and I can go ahead and be ready because I know where it's going to send me back to jails, institutions, or death, man. Like, and there's been time like my family would kind of know, but they would, like they didn't want to believe themselves. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I would go straight to them, like, "Hey, y'all know I'm back getting high again, and you know what it's going to be." And they're like, "Oh no, just you're okay. You can pull yourself out if you always do." And mentally in my mind, I was like, "Yeah, please God, just please let me live through this. I know what it's going to do. I can't stop. It's bad to say, I can't stop putting this needle in my arm, man. I can't." And y'all ain't getting it. They've never felt like I have, like, in that situation. And that's when I told myself, like, I'm telling them, hey, I'm going back to prison. No, you're not going back to prison. You're good, and before you know it.
So Skeeter was in the same boat as Jesus. Like, I'm telling my family, my friends, like, this is going to happen.
I'm spiraling out of control.
I need help.
I need
but
help.
Nobody listened.
Not until I'm at the rehab, I'm like, hey, I've got to go to rehab. And they're like, again? And like, yeah. And I get to the rehab.
I warned you guys.
I warned you, and I get up there to the rehab, and I OD and about die. And they have to Narcan me and bring me back, and and they're up there, and at the hospital saying, "Oh man, I wish like I was trying to tell y'all that I was, what I mean? I wasn't doing good, and now here I am. I gotta, I gotta go back for a little while, but like." With that being said, like with my family was at ease then, like, hey, we kind of like you, and it's bad to say, but we kind of like you in jail because we know you can't kill you, you can't die, you ain't out here,
we know where you're at.
We know where you're at. We know
safe.
you're getting fed. We know, you know what I mean? They're not having these sleepless nights that my mama had every night squalling me saying, please, don't die, just don't die. Please just make it through the night or, and myself, I couldn't stop putting substance in me. I couldn't do it.
Man, that's a heck of a story because I know Skeeter's recovery right now and he's doing great. So don't let that story take away from the positive things that he's got going on. I mean, look at him right now. Like, he's sitting here, he's sober, he's here talking to me, and if you don't notice, I can't shut up. But now, Will, when do people not listen to you, Will?
Not to mention, he also has the Little League team.
Yeah, I got all. I mean, I got a beautiful thing going on, like with my family, my little small family.
Here's your plug. Go ahead.
Yeah, Savannah. and like Will, like, you know what I mean. I can't. It's kind of weird. Like, I can't do nothing without, you know what I mean. And it's weird. Like I do everything I do in my life. I get it approved. Like, kind of like Will. I call him first if I'm gonna do anything. Is this the right decision or I'm talking him off the ledge? Hey,
Yeah.
It's
back. It's a
we kind of go off each other. You know what I mean? Hey, but it's good because we can use our stress, like that kind of stress to each other, and we're like, we're mad, and we're probably saying some stuff we shouldn't, and then he's like, no, man, we can't do that. We can't go back there. And they're like, all right, then he's come back like, man, I just want to do it. Now he's ready to
have good.
Like, no, man, okay, let's, but it is.
Yeah, I think it's like mine's similar. I mean, the main thing, the most important thing is like the pride before the fall. See, we know what it looks like now. We've had enough experience. We've been around people. We've been through it enough, recovery and back and forth and into the madness. And like, there was people like us before that had been through it and like, dude, it's not looking good. You're withdrawing from people, which is a huge red flag. If I start withdrawing and isolating and I'm just back to white knuckling it, chances are there's holes in the boat. I'm taking on water. But yeah, like that's what I mean. That's just what comes to mind. Is knowing, like, but actually acknowledging, now those things, like looking back at it, like, I knew it was coming. I told myself probably, but then I would just, manipulate myself too and try to manipulate everybody. No, man, I'm good and all that. And they're like, clearly you're not, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just, it just goes back to I didn't put trust in God like I do now, and the people that God had in place, authority, friends, accountability. You know, I could never get away with nothing. Now I got too many of you guys around me, which is by design.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm with him constantly. We work together, we pray together, we serve together, we do everything
He just needs to answer the phone better.
yeah, not good at answering the phone. So, you know, yeah, I would just say, like in as far as what you're saying, relating back to Jesus, like he knew what was going to happen, and I think for me, I know what's going to happen if I don't keep him first, and the people that he's put around me first to trust, and you know, keep that accountability, keep that humility, and try to stay humble, because if I don't, I know the result is exactly the same. You're going back to jail, you're going back to rehab, you know, like, and it's just, your kids are like, oh man, here we go. Your family's like, oh man, lock the doors, you know.
Yeah.
It's just
and I think for me, God likes consistency. So like, if you're being consistent with what you're doing, He will continue to bless you.
You could be consistently bad too, though.
That's
So
what I'm
you-
saying. Like,
dude, I've been consistently inconsistent.
I've been real consistent.
I know how to do that.
yeah. But
If
you
you
know what I'm
need
saying?
any bad examples, we got you.
Yeah.
Just let us know.
But I think for him, it really drives home the idea that if you're going out of your way to make sure you recover, or if you're trying to be a better person, or just trying to do better in general, there's a lot of hidden, what I dare say, hidden sins. There's a lot of hidden sins that prevent you from being successful too.
Sure.
So like, you know, just thinking the wrong way, having those discernments that will take over your brain. God don't like that at all either.
No.
So just trying to be, you know, have people around you like you guys talked about, and I think that's where I'm working on, is having that type of brain thinking. Like, it's just, what am I doing to prevent myself from ruining a good situation?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know, also with that, like, the devil is patient
Oh yeah.
for us. He's waiting
Yeah.
around the corner just watching, like, oh man, I got something. Like yesterday we had this I guess kind of like meeting thing that we were supposed to go do and talk at and share our stories.
Wednesday night?
And
No.
this was at a
Stepworks.
at a rehab
Recovery.
recovery facility, and they wanted us to come from the Dream Center, and they wanted us to, you know, talk, share our testimony, play some music, you know, just just bring them what we're doing. And we went, and we had a rough week. I won't go into it. Long week, stressful day at the end of the week, you know, for a lot of reasons. And we're just, you know, we've been out in the sun all week, you know, doing construction, and then we get to the end of it, and it's like an hour before, and I'm like, man, I don't want to do this. And I'm just in my head and in my flesh, and I'm just mad. And then finally I was like, you know what? That's to me, it's like God gives us free will, but the devil's just waiting there for you to be like, oh, okay, you come right instead of going left. I got you.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, all in my head, you know. And I'm so glad I just kept the, I guess, discipline. But, you know, I stayed committed to my friend who was expecting me to be there, you know, and the people that we were going there for. And I went with that thought first, and then we got there, and they had like nice couches, and it was just real intimate. And dude, I just sat back and felt better. And then we did our thing. People received it. People, you know, thanked us for it. And it was just we were supposed to do this. And I almost pulled out of it because I let, you know what I mean, get to me. It just made me think of that when you said that. But there's
and like everything's transitioning perfect for my next thing here. So there are times where, yes, you didn't want to go, you went. We've all been there. I'm glad you did it last night. I'm proud of you both for doing that. You don't hear that enough. I'm very proud of you for doing that. But then you go to Holy Week, right? And Jesus was celebrated. Then he's telling people that, hey, this is coming. I know that they're going to kill me. He's still celebrated by most at this point, but then it turns. Everyone turns on him. The court systems turn on him. Pilate washes his hands. The religious system turns on him and lets him go.
Yeah.
We are all in a church now that doesn't do that. But there's been times in my life where the church system has failed me, where the government system has failed me. It's not where we're at now. It's not the church that we're involved with now, because they have more people like us there than we had in the past, the judgmental small churches in the area. No offense to small church, but sometimes they can be very much judgmental. So when I ask this question, it's, have you ever felt like the law or family or religion or anything has let you down? Because I'll be honest with you, you've had a rough go. You've had a rough go. I've not had it as bad, but I've had a rough go, okay? But I don't think things have been fair for you. I don't think it's been fair for you. So have you ever felt like, man, and I understand that we go through those things for a reason, and that's why we're here, but have you ever felt like that? Because you know Jesus, when Pilate's washing his hands, Josh, wash my hands, nobody's supporting him, you know he feels like nobody's there.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I struggled with my last church, man, and it was a little church. I had just then began trying to get, I was fighting addiction. I'd done NAAA numerous times, and it just wasn't working. And I thought, man, I had never really, just laid everything out. I was like, man, I gotta get closer to God. And struggled with my last church, because some stuff went on, and it wasn't God. It wasn't godly. It had to be the devil doing it. They hurt me, man. Like, they done some stuff. It made me think that, they was out telling me the girl I was dating had demons in her and had me praying at my house and doing sage. And it was, and I mean, it was great. You know what I mean?
The way he explained it last night was, I'm not laughing at it, dude. It was so funny. The way he's like, I was running around the house.
I was like, dude, it was crazy.
Hey, look, unless you're from a small town in Kentucky or Tennessee, you don't know, because yes, I've seen it too.
You know what I mean?
It is crazy.
It is crazy. Like, dude, they had me. There's like, hey, she's got demons in her, and so I started reading up on it. I was just then trying to get spiritual. I was like, man, like, for real, and so I start Googling, you know what I mean? And so I went and bought me some sage.
Which is the worst thing to do.
I'm over shaking, doing the dance and doing the thing. And come to find out, it was just my best friend was sleeping with my old lady.
Oh, well, that's not a demon.
You know what I mean? It ain't a demon. That's
what
I
I
said.
Demon,
that wasn't a demon, but you know what I mean? That's what it did. It
right.
hurt me because I was like, man, I poured, you know what I mean? I'm trying to get spiritual here. And y'all.
And you're defending her, I'm sure.
And
Man.
yeah. Why would you tell me she's got demons in her and had me tripping out? I wouldn't even go home and stay. Like, I'd go home and pull up, and my mind be, I'd be out there in left
The biblical
field.
term is Jezebel.
Yeah, I'd be out there where the mail don't run, and I think I'd be seeing demons in my house. You know what I mean? It really wasn't. You know what I mean? It's just in my head. And it was just my best friend was sleeping with her, and they didn't know how to tell me.
They just didn't tell you that.
Yeah,
It'd
so
be nice if they just told you that.
So yeah, definitely that scarred me, and it's tucked me till now, and I still ain't. You know what I mean? I've just now. I was telling Will, like, the Sunday we done our little service at the Washington Center is the first time in a long time I've got I felt the Spirit coming to my back in my body that I wanted to raise my hand and praise the good Lord, because I was so, and at first I was trying to blame, like, man, why would God let anybody do me like that? And I got to thinking now, like, man, it was just, it's of the flesh, you know what I mean? I can tell it ain't, and them people just didn't know how to come about it, and but yeah, it scarred me. Like,
all right, well, that's a heck of a story, and I can't follow it, but I'm gonna let Will try.
What? I forgot the question.
All right, so when in your life have you felt like people didn't support you, whether it's family, whether it's the government's, the laws,
the failing?
Yeah,
that's a tough one for me.
I want to play the Jeopardy music while he thinks.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean,
I might do it post production as well.
When it comes to the church, I don't really have a situation like that where I feel like I've been failed, because people are gonna let you down, So I learned not to put expectations on people, so I don't become let down. Now, that's different from being able to trust and count on the people that I know love me and, specific, even little things like, I've, and I'm sure everybody who's been in trouble with the law is like, man, but in reality, I've dealt with some things with that and had to pay some debts to society that, I definitely felt were harsh considering the circumstance without going into it. But that's people, and it all just goes back. It's of the world. It's worldly things. It's people making decisions for you. People writing the laws. People deciding what the church wants to do and how those are people. And just because I'm this and that, and I believe in God, and it doesn't matter. We've seen some pretty bad stuff happen with people that claim to be righteous and whatever. So the other side of it is, I've put myself in a place, I used to compete in mixed martial arts and fight.
He
and do
doesn't
all
work
that
out.
stuff.
I mean, if you can
I
look
don't
at him,
work
he
out.
doesn't work out. It's brand new. Don't believe any of this.
I'm just fighting gravity. So, and they always said, don't ever leave it up to the judges. Finish, the fight. And definitely don't leave it up to the circuit court because you might not like what you get. And then
Amen. I'm going to amen it.
Don't leave it up to the Department of Corrections because you might not like what you get.
Because you want to serve out.
And had those. But, above all, I'm telling you, man, I hit it on the head constantly, and I probably wear it out. But, like, everything I think back to and I go to, and I'm like, man, it shouldn't have been that way, or they shouldn't have done me like that. You know what? It happened. I might have put myself in the place where I let it happen. In those cases, now there's times where I was just wrong place. Something happened. I caught the brunt end of it. Everybody's got a story like that. But good or bad, thick and thin, the peace that you can have with Jesus is just like, hey, man, bring it. I've been through the worst of it.
Yeah.
You can beat me. I mean, it might hurt for a couple weeks, but you can take everything away from me. Been there, done that. You can take my freedom. Been there, done that. You can take away people I love. Done that. Had that happen. But also there's restoration when you're failed by the people in the world and you keep your trust where it needs to be centered in Christ. Everything is restored. You hear people, God restores all. There's a reason old sayings are old sayings. They're true.
That's true.
And He restores abundantly, and He just, look where we were a year ago. We're talking about how we wanted our life to be while we're sitting in jail together, praying, reading scriptures, and we're like, we're going to do something one day. And we prayed about it, and we stayed faithful, and we stayed disciplined. And even, we fail. We're people. We got flesh, and, we make mistakes. But the consistency is upward, and that's why we're able to be here now, and and do this stuff. And I've had a lot of things fail me, but I've also failed a lot,
Yes,
and a lot of people, and I've failed abundantly more than I've been failed.
Yeah.
But I've never been failed by God, and
Never.
everything that I ever believed in with Him and do believe in has happened, is happening, or I'm sure will happen.
I'll let you go. I'll get the next question.
I'm not even going to go. I can't follow these
Yeah,
because
I know.
here's what I'm saying. Like, I love where
I don't
they're
know
at.
what we could say about
I'm looking at Holy Week again, and like, here's the thing: if we're going to do this with more people than just these two amazing gentlemen, I can't share my story every week.
I know.
People get tired of hearing it. I mean, I might not get tired of hearing it. I do like my voice, but anyway.
He does.
But
I sing and play music and stuff, and I'm the worst critic of myself. I think,
Oh, yeah.
it's anyway.
see,
I
we
have
were
to
talking.
edit
Flip
these
side of the
videos. I'm
coin.
gonna hate every bit of it and listen to me talk because I'm like,
That's cool.
Can I lower myself
I
down?
want to see. I enjoy it. Like I've presented, guys. I didn't tell y'all this. When I was in teaching, I presented in front of 20, 30. I also presented in front of 4,000. So none of that bothers me. Like, you see my personality in this. Like, this is who John Stovall is. Like, I'm joking with you. I'm having a good time, but I don't care to lead it because to me it's fun. I look at the things that you've been through that he's not sharing right now, and that's fine. He can share it later. The things that Skeeter's gone through. I've watched this man go through it, okay? I know Bill. He's my sister's age, but I watched this man go through it. And to see where he's at today, compared to where he was, I can't praise that enough. I mean, I'm also a testament of the same things they've gone through. Not to the extent that they have, but I've been in jail. I mean, I lost my license. Literally just got my regular license back not too long ago. Not going to put the time frame on the camera, but got my regular license back not too long ago. But when I look at Holy Week, Josh, I look at Holy Week. Look at the things that there's questions that we've stepped through, right? You know, celebrate it, where you know something's coming, then where you're persecuted and let down. But then I get to the end when you know it's right here. You know it's right here. And even Jesus prays, Father, if there be any other way. He's not sinning when he does that. He's being a human. If there be any other way, let this cup pass from me. Have you ever had that? Because that was my rock bottom. God, if there's any other way, take this away. But there wasn't. It was to go to rock bottom. I mean,
definitely hit. Rock bottom. I mean, I've been all over it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
and
I guess the more of the question is, it's not necessarily the rock bottom part. I think it is, we got to a point where you know you got to do something, and you have to go in that direction, and you really don't want to. What was that? Because, you know, Jesus knew that he was going to die on the cross, and he knew that, hey, I have to do this. God, is there anything else that I can do besides this?
Yeah.
And he knew this is it. Like, okay, that's where I guess that's where Jonathan's asking is what direction and what place of action did you have to go? I'm going to really have to sacrifice a lot of stuff to go in that direction that God's having me go. If you know what that direction is, that always have to ask the question: do we know truly where God wants us to go, or are we just going with the flow?
At that point, I don't think.
Right, that's what you were asking.
You know,
yeah.
At that, you know, I feel like at that point, you know, I just wanted something different, man. Like, I'm sure, like Jesus, you know, like he told himself, like, man, you know, like that's of the flesh doing it. Like, man, can anybody else, you know what I mean? Maybe pass it on to somebody else. Let them.
Can Peter do
this? You know what I mean? Like, but with me, man, I felt like with my addiction, dude, I was to the point, like, man, if this ain't it, if this ain't, you know what I mean? Please, I've got to walk in that path, or I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die a sinner, and for me, you know, my meth addiction was working for the devil, cause you know what I mean. And I felt like, man, I didn't want that, but like, you know,
I'm plugging him for just a second. Come on, somebody. Come on, somebody.
I wanted it. I just wanted, you know, I was still struggling, you know, to do His will, and I was still struggling with surrendering. You know, I still wanted to drive. My flesh wanted to drive, you know. And I didn't want to surrender everything to God. Like, man, I'll let Him take these parts of my life, and He can drive that. But, man, I still got to drive this part. I'm still good. You know, and I think that's just where my pride and ego set in. But, yeah, it was
It's awesome,
it was life or death, man, for me.
Same. It was the same thing for him.
Yeah,
It was the same thing for Christ. It was life or death.
I remember sitting in my daddy. I remember sitting in a little green Toyota Camry that I bought off Kyle Pearson at my house, and I thought, man, if you don't, I went to every rehab, and it was during like COVID and stuff like y'all. Like I would call and try to get help, and they'd say, "Come on." I'd come up there. As soon as I get there, they'd say, "Oh, we had to lock down. It's COVID. You can't come in now." Y'all, dude, it got to the point to where I was showing up at these rehabs with a needle in my hand, shooting up in front of them, saying, "Please take me in. I'm gonna die." And I remember sitting in the car, man, just so vividly, saying, "If you don't do something, you're gonna die." And I remember the good Lord just telling me, "Go find them." And I went in that little green car, and I went and found the police. Boop, boop, done something crazy, dude. They started chasing me, and that's when I went on I took them on a little run, and then I won't never forget it. I wound up wrecking the vehicle, hitting a tree, jumping out, running. I walked all the way around, and there was I was out by where your mom and dad lived, by Doggy Church Road.
Yep.
It was city and county police, both of them, and I thought, well, usually, you know, it's bad when you got city on you in the county.
Yeah.
And I remember so vividly walking up, and there was 100. It felt like 100 cop cars, you know. And I thought, man, I'm going to be gone 1,000 years for all these felonies I got. You know. But that's the only way I could save my life is go to jail, because no rehabs would take me, no, you know what I mean. And that's the way I thought. I thought, man, it's life or death. And what do you want to do today? And I decided I wanted to live, and I want to follow Jesus, and it did. Like, it was.
He gave me cold chills.
Yeah, it was beautiful, y'all. Because when I walked all that, y'all, I thought, man, when I got up there, I said, what all have y'all got me on? And they said, you done all of this over a little old misdemeanor warrant. And I didn't. I said, no, I done this to save my life. I won't never forget Brandon Lovett telling me, you know, he's like, you just done all this over. I said, no, I didn't. I done it to save my life. And I remember him so vividly coming up to me and just like putting his arm around me and saying, hey, I'll get you some help. I promise you. Dude, and that's when you know what I mean?
It's instant relief.
Instant
You're
relief.
like,
Man, I'm going to live.
Bring
you know
the
what I mean?
charges, but I'm out of it.
Like,
I'm
because
saved.
yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
that makes me think of a song that I mean most people heard that I play. Oh, Come to the Altar by Elevation Worship, and it says, "Are you hurting and broken within, overwhelmed by the wages of your sin? Jesus is calling."
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You know, and that makes me think of that. Like, we might not know in the moment, you know, like when I was deep in it, and I'm back up north in Camden, which, you know, you see them videos on like the reels and YouTube, and people just like slumped over, nodded out. That's mainly where I grew up, and that's where I was back at. And I was just sitting there like, man, I was, at the time, it wasn't like I was like praying, but I mean, I kind of was, but it was it was before, like, I had gave my life to Christ, and I was just praying for something, like, man, just get me out of here somehow, you know, like, and it's just wild because I didn't know that I needed to go to a rehab. I didn't care where it was. I was like, just get somehow, you know, and I had nobody at the time like that would even listen to me because I was so out there where the mail don't run, like Skeeter says. I was out there, and you know, Jesus was calling, and he was putting those thoughts in my head, and he was like, come on, man, just get to someone, you know. And then he put some people in my path just randomly, like this old, like, 65-year-old Motown singer that was on crack and was like, man, spinning around and telling me Bible verses and like talking about the book of Job after he learned my story. And was like, man, that's you're Job. And I was like, huh?
Oh man,
who is Job? And all that at the time. And then he was just like, you're gonna be restored.
I'm glad you didn't say job, but yeah, keep going.
Come on.
Well, I mean, the story of Job is something definitely to reflect on.
But it is,
sure.
you know, when you have all the success and like you have everything you want and you feel like you build, but you know, you build it on the wrong foundation, and that's why in my case it got taken away. But then the Lord helped me build a firm a new one. But like, he was calling us. He was always wanting us. He always loved us, and he didn't want us in that. But you know, the free will thing, we're idiots. We're sinners. We're born that way. We're gonna do the wrong thing 9 times out of 10. Even if we think we're doing the right thing.
That's right.
And then he was calling and calling and calling, and finally I was like, all right, man, I'll go to this, you know, Christian thing up in middle central Pennsylvania, and you know, and dude, it changed my life, and because that's where God was calling me. But at that, you know, that whole time I was like yearning for like a father, you know. My real father's alive and all that, but he wasn't. You know, people gotta distance themselves from you when you're out there like that, and I get that, but the whole time he was calling me, and he was calling us, and he was calling us for, you know.
I wanted to ask, tailgate off of your last statement. So we all know we found God in our own way. We all found God in our own way, and it's a whole different story for everybody. I don't think there's one same story for everybody. But my question for you is, and this is for everyone, is how hard is it for us to maintain that relationship with God when things go hard for us? When I ask that question, I mean it in this way, is how often do we allow our own mental health and our own, I would say, biases to play effect in our decision making? So, yes, we found God. The greatest thing that happens to people, and let me clarify a little bit better. When you go to church, people greet you. We got a great church for that. I'm not trying to plug in our church, but We got a great church who makes everyone feel welcome. The broken are the biggest people I think that need to come to church, because at the end of the day, we're supposed to be a hospital, not a maintain you to be healthy. We want to heal the people who need to be healed. My question is, when all that is said and done, the devil is lurking around the corner trying to tempt you.
Yeah.
How often would you guys say in the past just year, would you say that you have been tempted and the devil has almost pulled you back?
Bro, that's an easy question. You can't sum that up in one word.
But I was trying to make it very specific.
Seconds. Every second of the day.
Yeah.
Daily, you're tempted. I know that I am, and I know that they are too. But go ahead, be more specific if you guys can, because to me, there's not a moment goes by in my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's they call it backsliding. I mean, I
what would prevent you guys from though? That's what I want to know.
What prevents?
What prevents?
What prevents from you guys doing that?
You know what? It's like for me, just the first thought is the protective scaffolding that's built around us with our community.
Yeah,
that could be small groups. That could be serving. I think people like us that have been so involved in ourselves, now that we can go serve people that need to feel that love and know about, hey man, this is what life looks like on the other side. Once you surrender, that scaffolding, that protective community, that accountability, and it's just love. Hey man, I love you. We are a brother's keeper, but I'm not here to tell you what to do or how to live your life, man. I'm just I know what you want to do. I see it in your heart. You tell me about it. We're transparent. I'm riding with you, man. I'm along with you for the ride. I got you. We're family. And that community, because I did fall back almost 2 years ago. I had almost 2 years of just solid, man, running for Jesus, and I stepped out of that circle, that bubble, that protection, to seek what I felt was like, all right, I've done this. I got it. Famous last words. Well, you don't, dude. And I was like, I'm going to get a better job, because I used to, have a lot of success, and I want to get back to that comfortable lifestyle and do vacations with my kids and all. And it was like a trigger for me. And I let that be up on a pedestal, and I chased it. And Jesus was back here in my foundation and my protection. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to step out. I got it, man. I'm good. I'll keep, didn't do any of it. And then boom, hit the ground, and then, get a serve out. So it's the protection, that scaffolding. I had a counselor who's one of the associate pastors at Calvary Chapel in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, and I love those people so much. They're family of mine forever, and they help me through God build the principles and the foundation I have. And we were talking about that in a counseling session, and he was like, someone like you has to have this constant scaffolding built around you, this bubble, this protection, and you can't deviate from that. You can't step outside of that box, dude. It might be that way for 40 years. It might be that way for the rest of your life. It might be 6 months, but don't risk it. Don't step away from what works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Stay where your home is. Stay where your protection is. And you can take that all over the world, but you just got to stay, you know what I mean? You got to stay. I have to stay with people like you guys. I have to stay with Skeeter. I have to stay with my kids. I have to stay with our church, because it's the community. It's that protection. And I'm serving, and we serve a lot and do worship and do whatever, and whatever we can do. Hey, we'll go talk at a thing. We need that too, because we got to get out of ourselves. Because I can get into myself, and then that pride and ego just hits the roof real quick. And that's, like you said, every second. That's what I struggle with. And that can be a trigger to worse things, so having all that keeps me grounded. But sometimes I'm at the gate, dude, like a racehorse, ready to roll. And that split second, well, I told him I was going to go do that. So I have to go do it.
Yeah.
And in reality, I'm running the other direction. And my flesh just, it's real. And it's every second. It can pop up.
And it's normal for us, for us to get tempted like that. But for me too, it also it makes me sit back because I've always run off impulsive action. You know what I mean? Like, just bam, and then before you know it, I'm like, oh my God, I've got 5 more felonies. And, you know what I mean? Like for real. Like now, like when them temptations come to my mind, I look at my community, like the people around me. I look at my little family, and I'm thinking, man, if you do that out of that impulse now, you're going to lose all of that, And I already know the vicious cycle of when that does that, that's the devil instantly saying, go get high. You know what I mean? Because that's how I've always dealt with stuff, anything in my life,
It's easier to numb it.
It's easier to numb the pain to just, when you sit and think, man, all right, that's, just to get mad, well, I'll go get high and not have to worry about it. And then, I give it, I don't care about nothing in life. And until you're sitting at, behind that fence and you're looking around, you're like, God, Lee, what have I done? I've made it to the big house now. And I don't do that today. Like, everything I try to do, I do it off of, what I mean. And I'm not saying I'm perfect by no means, you know what I mean? I still mess up, make mistakes, but like all of that with my community around me, like them temptations is easily, just like, you know what I mean? They might boom and go, like we're used to. I'd let it dwell on me, like, all right, go out here and let's do this, like, like we've been dealing with all week with our boss, like, dude, I just, you know what I mean? I would have done by now. I mean, I'm sure Bill would too.
We're not going to put how that happened on a tape, but, man, you handled it well. You shared that with me earlier. You both handled it well. I think you did. I think at the end of the day, it'll all work out.
Yeah.
You're talking about being tempted every day. I want to bring this back to some kind of close, but I'm going to bring it back like this. We talk about Jesus' love. That's the one thing that he is. He's love, right? And I like to do this to people, and Josh has heard me do this. You guys haven't heard me do it, and I'm going to do it on camera. All right, so you hear about Jesus. When's the first time you hear about him in the Bible, like the actual flesh human? When you hear about him? When he's born, right?
It's trivia, dude.
It is trivia. When he's born.
I didn't study.
Well, you don't have to
when
study. When he's born, okay?
Matthew.
The book doesn't matter, but you hear about him when he's born.
Well, it's New Testament. Yeah.
Right, okay. When's the next time you hear about him? Josh, you can jump in. When's the next time you hear about him?
He's getting baptized.
When he's in the synagogue about my father's business.
Yeah.
Okay, so
because his parents left him there for 3 days.
So that's the right. Jesus was a kid too, so that's where I'm getting with this.
That's a felony now.
So between the ages of 0 and 12 or 15, that's almost a 15-year gap, right? Okay, but then again, you hear about him in the synagogue. It's about his father's business. When do you hear about him again? And I'll tell you that way we don't have to go into trivia. He's 30.
Yeah.
He's 30. Okay?
Yeah.
He's 30. He's getting disciples. Okay? He's 30. So this is no discount to anything.
Did
but
he not get baptized first, though, before he got disciples?
It was 30, yes. Yes.
John
the Baptist baptized him.
I was just making sure, yeah.
Do we need to get in? Like, you're reading the Bible every day. Do I need to, like, we can do a book study.
Oh, dude, I knew this was going to happen.
We can get a book study if you want to.
I'm not in that spirit at all.
I mean,
I've never claimed to be.
I can do a book study, I mean, but anyway, let me get back
He's
to this.
asking the questions, dude. You can't trust that. He had all the answers back there already.
So here's where I'm going with this. That's 2 15-year gaps.
That's crazy.
This is the Son of God. Okay? This is the Son of God. He is God on earth. Mm-hmm. You can't tell me that this man wasn't doing miracles. Yeah. Even as a kid. It wasn't a sin, but think about this in a playful manner, but he's still Christ, right? Mm-hmm. So let's think, Bill, me, you, and Skeeter, we're hanging out by the creek or the Barren River. What did we always do when we were little? We skipping rocks, right? Mm-hmm. Skipping rocks. This is not a sin. It's kind of funny to think about, though. Skeeter skips a rock. Will skips a rock. John attempts to skip a rock. Jesus is like, watch this. I'm going to run across this thing. That's not a sin. Like, whether it happened or not, it's kind of, you got to think that he's doing those things. Or like Bill's dog. Like, Jesus, Will, my dog's died. Will, quit killing your dog. Your dog's alive again, but quit killing it. He was a kid too. So I say that because I don't want to lose how powerful it is. The parts that we hear about, think about the parts that we don't. There's so many things that this man done for humankind, for his Father in heaven, that we don't know about. That's why, to me, it's so fascinating, is because he was persecuted his entire life. That's why those years aren't there, guys. It wasn't just the end of his life. There were kings that were like, I don't like this. What about this Jesus? It's gone. But he is the Son of God. He was doing miracles the entire time. I say that because I bring it back to what these two are saying about each other, and that I was making fun of and saying I don't do, is they love each other. They love each other. I mean, literally, he was carrying Skeeter down the road. We got him off the road.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I want to praise you two for that. I want to praise you two for the love you have for each other, the love you have for your community, like even the love you have for being here with me. I know my reputation in Allen County. You've got to know a little part of me different today, but I know, he's arrogant. He thinks he's better than everybody. I know that, but when you get to know me, you're going to see me in a light, same way if you get to know Skeeter, if you get to know Will, if you get to know Josh.
I'd say John's a pretty cool guy once you get to know him.
And
I think, that's just any. I mean, you know how that goes. Anywhere you're at, people might know you, might have heard things about it. People have an opinion. I mean, there's no telling what they say. I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard some of the stuff, but geez. But it's just that's where they're at, and sometimes you meet people you don't know them as well, and then you actually take the time to get to know them and find out who they are, find out their story. I mean, everybody's a testimony. If that's the way that they want to live their life, they be something positive. And until you take the time to meet them where they're at and get to know them.
see, we said Jesus was calling. We said Jesus was calling.
Yeah.
Skeeter's over here checking his phone.
Yeah.
Josh
that's
checking his
No,
phone.
that's my plug, Savannah calling.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here, I'm going to end it like
I
this.
called someone and was like, they're taking us into this room and it's got black, dark grapes. And they said there's music equipment in there.
Yeah,
And
they
they're like,
tricked
dude, they're
us.
getting you out there. Don't go in there.
They
So
tricked me
they're
with snack
checking on
cakes and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the little Debbie's are gone. I ain't going to say who ate those, but they're gone. But I will say this as we conclude, Josh. I appreciate both of you guys being here. I know Josh does the same.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Josh, I'm going to let you give a little farewell, but then I'm going to do something that I'm going to do every time. You already know that. They'll learn it. So, Josh, say your thank yous.
I want to do one more question.
Oh, man, you throwing a wrench in my
Encore.
system. Like, I'm trying to get more Debbie cakes and stuff, but all right, go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
All
I
right.
want to hear the question.
So, Bill, now Bill's helping you out.
I'm
All right.
curious.
All right.
I would like to know from you guys. We know we've talked about your success. We talked about everything that you guys have done and your faith with God and everything. What does the future look like for you guys? What is something that you want to see yourself in 1 year? And outside of that, where do you want your family to be in a year?
You going first?
Yeah, I'll
You're
go.
closer than I am. So
He wanted the question, then he's like,
I
you're going
think-
first.
1 year from now, I mean, I
And
just
it's hard to think about.
Yeah, it is,
But,
like,
but it's something you can go back and look at and
Yeah.
say.
I've
well,
got
did
some
we do
little
that?
goals set, because I try to get mine I try to do mine within 5 years. You know what I mean? So my
Give me
next
5 years
year
then.
would be just keep growing closer to God, and just keep doing what I'm doing. Maybe getting to go do what we do into a prison. You know what I mean? Really just keep doing what I'm doing. Helping a fellow addict, and loving on them. Because I know early in recovery, that's all I wanted, man. Like, I just wanted somebody to be there for me that I could talk to, and just, kind of like, and do, like, these things y'all are doing now is beautiful. Like, it's good stuff, man. Like,
Well, that's what we want your help with. Like, we don't want this to be the only time that Skeeter
No.
and Will are here, because we want to bring other people that you guys know that are in recovery or that might have been out of it. We want to bring. You have a story, Skeeter. Have you ever had a platform to tell your story until recently, with whether church or whether whatever? No, we want to give other people that same platform.
yeah.
yeah.
It's a good thing. Are you done? Are
Yeah,
you still
I'm
doing you? I was gonna say you better not leave out the.
No, go.
That'd be one of your. Anyway.
You done ruined the surprise, man. But anyway.
No, I'm not saying nothing. Anyway.
Edit it out.
Yeah, cut that. Yeah, I'm like him in the sense. A year isn't very long. I mean, when you're stuck somewhere for a year, you're like, man, that's an eternity. But it goes, like now, like a year's gonna fly, and keeping up with what we're doing, and so much has happened in such a short amount of time. Who knows? Maybe what where this podcast reaches. Who knows where other things come off of this? And we're dreamers, like Amy was saying about us. We're dreamers and we're doers too. So, and I know you guys are like that as well. I would love, my youngest son is going to be a senior in high school, and I lost time with my family going through this madness, and you can't make up any time. You can't get it back. And it was hard to face that and accept that, but luckily God restores relationships. God keeps the bond that you have, and I've always been so close with my sons. I have 3 sons. So my youngest is going to be a senior, and he plays football, and it's just like I get to finish that era of that part of life, that season of this is it for him for high school sports. And all my kids were very talented athletes, and I get to be there and I get to coach them. We work out every day in the morning at like 6 a.m. We train together, and I just that's a big goal for this next year is to see that through. And I know how bad he wants that, and and I'm grateful that God's allowed me to be there for that. And then, dude, I want to get married. I want to have a house. I want to have my family together. All that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, Rod. Of course, I want all that stuff. You know what I mean? I want to have family again. I want to. I love to love, and whether it's loving on people that need it, I'm all in for loving.
Yeah.
And that's in different shapes and forms, and that's what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
All right.
What do you got?
So guys, I appreciate you guys coming in. I want to say a few things to you guys. First of all, we're very proud of everything you guys have accomplished.
Thank you.
I've been enjoying getting to know you guys since I've been going to Victory Hill.
Yeah.
I've got to know a lot of people. And one thing I do enjoy, and I'm plugging a little bit, but Larry bringing me over to the Dream Center has been one of the best things that he's ever done, because I enjoy going to men's Bible study when we can have all of us in the same room together.
Yeah.
We have some good stuff. And I do think that you guys took a little time to come talk to us. It's our first episode, so it may be a little sloppy, but it may be really good.
Dude, we're the OGs now.
You're
right.
the OGs, bro.
Yeah.
So for me, my goal this year is to be able to do, as we go into our podcast adventure, me and John, is not only have just the audio, but also have a video audio podcast that can be fully operated without any problems.
Sure.
And that we can take it with us to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest thing that I'm going to have. Is I hope within a year we'll have all the equipment where we can meet anybody where they're at.
Yeah.
That is a goal. Like you talk about going to prisons, right? We would love to be able to go to Allen County Jail, talk to Brandon, and hop down in a cell, and let's have this real conversation. Like, how cool would that be?
Yeah, I mean, we got connections, and we know a lot, and he knows everybody, and I know
everybody.
I know 10
everybody.
people, in my mind that are awesome, amazing testimonies, and just solid people that people need to hear about, and I know we would be willing to help you guys with anything, anytime.
We'll make that list later. I'm gonna say this, you guys out there, and they've never heard me say this, but Josh has, and this is something I've always said to my students in class. So, okay, and I will say this to you. I'm gonna explain it to you guys. So, as a teacher, when I was teaching, and you talked about it, Skeeter, they don't tell you that you matter, that they love you. You don't grow up like that, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't miss a single day, never have, since I was started teaching, to tell kids, to tell you, to tell somebody, if you haven't heard it today, if nobody's told you that you matter, if nobody's told you they love you, we love you, and you do matter.
Come on,
you
somebody.
matter to us.
Come on.
You matter to the whole church that we're with, and you matter to the man upstairs. So
100%.
you matter. Don't forget that, and peace out.